It was a chilly afternoon in the heart of New York City when Olivia Bennet stepped out of her sleek black limousine. Dressed in an elegant navy blue coat, her diamond earrings glimmering in the winter sunlight, she exuded power and success. As the CEO of a major fashion empire, Olivia had everything: wealth, influence, and a carefully curated life of luxury. As she made her way toward a high-end boutique, something caught her eye. Across the street, a woman sat on the cold pavement, her arms wrapped around two small children. Their clothes were tattered, their faces smeared with dirt, and their eyes hollow with hunger. Olivia rarely paid attention to beggars, but something about this woman felt familiar. Then, as the woman lifted her face and their eyes met, Olivia's breath caught in her throat. It was Emily Carter. Emily, her old classmate. Emily, who used to be the brightest girl in school. Emily, who once dreamed of becoming a doctor. How had this happened? Olivia Bennet stood frozen on the sidewalk, her designer heels clicking to a halt on the concrete. The bustling city around her seemed to fade into the background. The woman sitting on the ground, wrapped in a ragged coat, holding her shivering children close, was undeniably Emily Carter. Memories flooded Olivia's mind. She and Emily had once been best friends in high school, inseparable. They studied together, dreamed together, and shared their deepest secrets. Back then, Emily had been the golden girl, top of the class, ambitious, and full of life. She wanted to become a doctor, to help people, to change the world. Olivia, on the other hand, had always admired Emily's brilliance. Olivia was not a top student, but she had an eye for business and fashion. While Emily had spent hours buried in medical textbooks, Olivia had sketched clothing designs in the margins of her notebooks. After graduation, they had drifted apart. Olivia went to a prestigious business school and, through relentless ambition, built a fashion empire. She had worked tirelessly, clawing her way up the industry ladder until she owned one of the most successful luxury brands in the country. She had wealth, power, and a life people envied. But Emily? What had happened to her? How had she gone from a promising future to this? Begging on the streets, her children clinging to her in desperation. Olivia hesitated for a moment, then crossed the street. Her heart pounded as she approached the woman who had once been her closest friend. Emily? Olivia's voice was tentative, unsure. The woman flinched at the sound of her name. Slowly, she looked up, her eyes dull with exhaustion. There was a brief moment of confusion before realization dawned. Her lips parted slightly, and her expression shifted from shock to something unreadable. Olivia! Emily's voice was hoarse, as if she had not spoken in a long time. For a few moments, neither woman spoke. Olivia took in the sight before her. Emily's hollow cheeks, her once bright hazel eyes now clouded with fatigue, her hands gripping the thin fabric of her children's worn-out jackets. The children, a boy and a girl, no older than 5 or 6, huddled closer to their mother, their gazes wary. Emily broke the silence. What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing," Olivia replied, though her voice lacked its usual confidence. "Emily, what happened to you?" Emily exhaled slowly, as if bracing herself. "It is a long story." Olivia glanced at the children. "Are they your kids?" Emily nodded and pulled them closer. "Yes, this is Daniel and this is Lily." The children looked up at Olivia, their small faces pale from the cold. Olivia felt an unfamiliar pang in her chest. She was not a woman who often let emotions get in the way of logic, but this was different. She crouched down to their level and gave them a small smile. "Hi there." They said nothing. Lily buried her face in her mother's shoulder, while Daniel merely observed Olivia with cautious eyes. A sudden gust of wind made Olivia shiver. She turned back to Emily. "You should not be out here in this weather. Do you have somewhere to go?" Emily hesitated. "A shelter, but it fills up quickly. Some nights we do not get a spot." The words hit Olivia like a punch to the gut. This was Emily Carter, the same Emily who once spoke of becoming a surgeon, who used to tutor struggling students in math, who used to tell Olivia to never settle for less than what she deserved. And now, she was homeless, struggling to find a place to sleep each night. Without thinking, Olivia reached into her designer handbag and pulled out a thick stack of cash. Here, this should help. Emily looked at the money but did not take it. Instead, she lifted her eyes to meet Olivia's, her expression unreadable. I appreciate the offer, but money will not fix everything. Olivia frowned. Emily, you need help. I know, Emily admitted, but charity is not the answer. Frustration flickered across Olivia's face. Then what is? What happened to you? How did you end up like this? Emily sighed, rubbing her hands over her tired face. It is complicated. I have time. Emily hesitated again, then finally nodded. All right, but not here. Olivia glanced around. People hurried past them, bundled up in warm coats, avoiding eye contact with the homeless family on the sidewalk. She turned back to Emily. Come with me. We will go somewhere warm. You and the kids can eat something. Emily seemed to consider this for a moment before nodding. Okay. Olivia led them to her limousine. The driver, a middle-aged man in a sharp suit, opened the door without question. Emily hesitated for a moment before stepping inside, holding her children's hands tightly. They settled into the plush leather seats, a stark contrast to the hard pavement they had been sitting on just moments ago. As the car pulled away from the curb, Olivia studied Emily. The woman who once had everything, a promising future, intelligence, kindness, was now a shadow of her former self. Olivia needed answers, but she had no idea that what Emily was about to reveal would change everything. Inside the warmth of the limousine, Olivia watched Emily closely. She could see the hesitation in her old friend's eyes, the way she held her children close, as if afraid someone would take them away. Olivia had so many questions, but she knew she had to be patient. We will go to a restaurant, Olivia said, breaking the silence. You and the kids can have a warm meal. Emily nodded but said nothing. She stared out the window, her fingers gently stroking Lily's hair. The little girl had curled up against her mother, her small body trembling from the cold. Daniel sat stiffly beside her, his dark eyes darting toward Olivia every now and then, as if unsure whether to trust her. The limousine pulled up in front of an upscale restaurant. Olivia stepped out first, waiting as Emily and the children hesitated before following. The moment they entered, warmth engulfed them. The scent of fresh bread and roasting meat filled the air. Olivia noticed the way Emily tensed, as if expecting someone to tell her she did not belong. A waiter approached, his eyes flickering to Emily's worn-out coat and the children's ragged clothes before looking at Olivia. She gave him a sharp look, silently daring him to say anything. He quickly nodded and led them to a private booth in the back. As soon as they sat down, Olivia handed Emily a menu. Order whatever you want. Emily hesitated before passing the menu to Daniel. What do you want, sweetheart? Daniel's fingers traced the pictures of the food as he swallowed hard. Can I have spaghetti? Of course, Olivia said gently. She turned to Lily, who was peeking at the menu from behind her mother's shoulder. And you? Lily glanced up at her mother as if asking permission. Emily smiled softly. Go ahead, sweetheart. Pancakes, Lily whispered. Olivia nodded. Spaghetti and pancakes it is. She signaled the waiter and placed the order. For a few moments they sat in silence. Olivia could see Emily struggling with herself, as if debating whether to speak. Finally, she sighed and looked up. You want to know what happened? Emily said quietly. Yes, Olivia admitted. I need to understand. Emily took a deep breath. After high school, I went to medical school. I worked hard, Olivia. I really did. I was top of my class just like before. Everything was going well. Olivia nodded. That much she had expected. Emily was brilliant. She was always meant to succeed. Emily's expression darkened. Then, during my third year, I met Jacob, a name Olivia did not recognize. Who was Jacob? Emily gave a humorless laugh. The man I thought I would spend my life with. Olivia's stomach twisted. She had a bad feeling about where this was going. I fell in love with him, Emily continued. He was charming, kind, at least at first. He made me feel safe. We got married right before I graduated, and soon after I got pregnant with Daniel. That is when everything changed. Olivia remained silent, letting her friend continue. Jacob started controlling me, Emily said, her voice tightening. At first, it was small things. He did not want me working too many shifts at the hospital. Then he did not want me working at all. He told me he would provide for us, that I did not need to worry. And I believed him. Olivia clenched her fists. Did he? Emily shook her head. Not at first. It was all emotional at the beginning. The way he spoke to me, the way he made me feel worthless. He convinced me that I could not survive without him. That I was not a good doctor, not a good wife, not a good mother. Olivia felt rage bubbling inside her. Emily took another breath. Then Lily was born, and everything got worse. The yelling turned into pushing. The pushing turned into... She trailed off, her fingers tightening around her daughter's hand. Olivia did not need her to finish the sentence. I wanted to leave, but he controlled all the money. I had no family left. My parents passed away while I was in medical school. I had no one. And the worst part? I was ashamed. I had worked so hard to become a doctor, to have a future. And yet, I was trapped in a nightmare of my own making. Emily, Olivia whispered, her heart breaking for her friend. One night he hit Daniel. Emily's voice trembled. That was the last straw. I grabbed whatever I could, took my kids and ran. I thought I could rebuild my life, but it was not that easy. I had no money, no job. Jacob had made sure I had no way to support myself. I tried to get back into medicine, but without recent experience, no one wanted to hire me. Eventually, I ran out of options. And here we are. Olivia sat in stunned silence. The friend she once knew, the girl who had been destined for greatness, had been broken down by life in the cruelest way possible. But Olivia was not going to let this be the end of Emily's story. She reached across the table and took Emily's hand. You are not alone anymore, she said firmly. I am going to help you. Emily looked at her with uncertainty. Olivia, I appreciate what you are trying to do, but... No buts, Olivia interrupted. You need a fresh start, and I can give that to you. You are still a doctor, Emily. You just need a chance to get back on your feet. Emily hesitated. It is not that simple. It is, Olivia insisted. I have connections. I can help you find work, a place to live, whatever you need. You are not taking charity. You are taking a second chance. Tears welled in Emily's eyes, but she quickly blinked them away. I do not know what to say. Say yes, Olivia urged. Say you will let me help you. Emily glanced down at her children, who were now eating their food eagerly. She exhaled slowly, then looked back at Olivia. Okay. Relief flooded Olivia's chest. She had no idea what the road ahead would look like, but one thing was certain. She was not going to let Emily fall through the cracks again. This was just the beginning. Over the next few days, Olivia made it her personal mission to help Emily and her children. She moved them into a temporary apartment. Nothing extravagant, just a clean, warm place where they could sleep peacefully without fear of the cold or danger. She bought them clothes, groceries, and all the essentials they needed to start over. At first, Emily resisted. She insisted on paying Olivia back, even though she had no money to do so. Olivia admired her pride, but she knew that stubbornness would not help her in the long run. This is not a handout, Emily, Olivia told her one night as they sat together in the small apartment's modest living room. This is a chance. You deserve this. Emily sighed. I hate feeling like a burden. You are not a burden, Olivia said firmly. You are my friend, and friends help each other. Emily looked down at her hands. It has been so long since I had a real friend. Olivia reached over and squeezed her hand. Well, you do now. But helping Emily find shelter was just the first step. The real challenge was getting her back on her feet. Olivia pulled every string she had, calling in favors from wealthy contacts, medical professionals, and hospital executives. She spent hours on the phone, meeting with people, explaining Emily's situation, trying to find someone who would take a chance on a once brilliant doctor who had been out of practice for years. She finally struck gold when she got in touch with Dr. Alan Whitmore, the chief administrator of a private hospital. Olivia had met him at a charity gala a year ago, and though they had never been particularly close, she knew he had a reputation for giving second chances. After much convincing, Dr. Whitmore agreed to meet Emily for an interview. "Are you ready for this?" Olivia asked the morning of the interview. Emily stood in front of the mirror, dressed in a crisp, professional outfit Olivia had bought for her. Her hair was neatly tied back, and for the first time in years, there was a spark of confidence in her eyes. "I have to be," Emily said. "That is the Emily I remember," Olivia said with a smile. They arrived at the hospital and Emily took a deep breath before walking inside. Olivia waited anxiously in the lobby, her heart pounding. This was it. This was Emily's chance to reclaim the life she had lost. After an hour, Emily emerged from the office, her expression unreadable. Olivia jumped up. "How did it go?" Emily swallowed. He is willing to give me a probationary position. I will have to prove myself, but..." A slow smile spread across her face. "I got the job, Olivia." Tears of joy welled in Olivia's eyes as she pulled Emily into a hug. "I knew you could do it." Emily laughed, a real, genuine laugh. "I cannot believe this is happening." But just as they stepped outside the hospital, a chilling voice froze them in place. Well, look who it is." Emily's entire body went rigid. Olivia turned to see a tall man standing a few feet away, his eyes dark and filled with something menacing. He wore a smug smirk, as if he had just won a game only he knew they were playing. Jacob. The sight of him made Olivia's blood boil. Emily took a step back, instinctively moving in front of Olivia as if to shield her from danger. Olivia noticed the way her hands trembled. "I have been looking for you, Emily," Jacob said, his voice smooth but laced with a dangerous undertone. "Took the kids and ran like a coward, did you? That was not very smart." Emily clenched her jaw. "Stay away from me," Jacob scoffed. "You think you can just walk away from me? Take my children and disappear." "They are not your children," Emily spat. "You lost the right to call them that the moment you laid a hand on them." Jacob's expression darkened, but Olivia stepped forward, her voice sharp and unwavering. "She is not alone anymore, Jacob. Whatever control you had over her is gone." Jacob's eyes flickered to Olivia, and he let out a low chuckle. "And who are you? The rich friend who thinks she can fix everything with money?" "No," Olivia said coldly. "I am the friend who will make sure you never hurt her or those children again." Jacob sneered. "You think you can stop me?" "I do not think," Olivia said. "I know." Just then, a police officer approached, flanked by 2 security guards from the hospital. Olivia had anticipated this moment. She had made sure Emily filed a restraining order, and she had also contacted authorities about Jacob's past abuse. The moment he showed up, she had subtly signaled for help. "Jacob Carter?" the officer said sternly. Jacob's smugness faltered. "What? You are under arrest for violation of a restraining order, as well as past allegations of domestic abuse," the officer continued. Emily gasped. Olivia placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "This is ridiculous," Jacob snapped. "You cannot arrest me for..." "You can explain everything to the judge," the officer said, pulling out handcuffs. "Turn around." Jacob's face twisted with rage. His eyes locked onto Emily. "This is not over." "Yes, it is," Emily said, her voice steady for the first time. "I am not afraid of you anymore." The officer secured the handcuffs and led Jacob away. Emily exhaled shakily, her body sagging with relief. Olivia gave her a reassuring smile. "He cannot hurt you anymore." Emily turned to Olivia, eyes filled with gratitude. "I do not know how to thank you." "You do not have to," Olivia said. "Just live the life you were meant to have." Emily smiled, and for the first time in years, she truly believed she could. The days that followed felt like a new beginning for Emily. For the first time in years, she woke up without fear, without the weight of the past pressing down on her shoulders. She no longer had to look over her shoulder, wondering if Jacob was lurking in the shadows. He was gone, facing legal consequences for the years of abuse he had inflicted upon her and the children. And yet, the scars remained. Emily sat in her new apartment one evening, watching Daniel and Lily play with a set of stuffed animals Olivia had bought for them. Their laughter filled the space, a sound that had once been rare in their lives. Despite the warmth of the moment, Emily felt a deep sadness settle in her chest. The trauma of the past could not be erased overnight. She still had nightmares. She still felt the instinctive need to flinch at sudden movements or loud voices. And most of all, she still struggled to believe that she was truly free. A knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. She stood and opened it to find Olivia standing there, holding a bottle of wine and a bag of takeout. "I figured you might need a friend tonight," Olivia said with a smile. Emily stepped aside, letting her in. They sat at the small dining table, opening the takeout containers and pouring glasses of wine. Olivia watched Emily carefully, noticing the quiet heaviness in her eyes. "You did it," Olivia said softly. "You are free, Emily." Emily exhaled slowly. "I know, but it still feels unreal. Like any moment, something will go wrong." Olivia reached for her hand. "Nothing will go wrong. You are safe now, and you are stronger than you realize." Emily gave a small smile. "I am trying to believe that." "You will," Olivia assured her. "One day at a time." Emily nodded, glancing at her children. "They deserve this. A normal life. A happy one." "They have that now," Olivia said. "Because of you." Emily swallowed the lump in her throat. She had spent so long feeling weak, feeling powerless. But now, looking at Daniel and Lily, she realized she had been strong all along. She had fought for them. She had survived. And now she was rebuilding. The next morning, Emily prepared for her first day at work. She stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the collar of her white coat. The fabric felt unfamiliar after so many years, but as she looked at herself, she saw something she had not seen in a long time. Hope. At the hospital, she was met with cautious but kind faces. Dr. Whitmore introduced her to the staff, explaining her probationary period. There were skeptical glances from some, but others offered encouraging smiles. Emily took a deep breath and stepped into the world she had once lost. Her first patient was an elderly woman who had come in for a routine checkup. As Emily listened to her heartbeat, asked her questions, and reassured her with a gentle smile, something inside her clicked. She was meant to be here. As the days passed, Emily proved herself. She worked tirelessly, refreshing her knowledge, practicing her skills, and earning the respect of her colleagues. Patients began to request her by name. The hospital staff started seeing her not as a woman who had fallen but as a doctor who had risen again. One evening, Olivia met Emily outside the hospital. "How was your first week?" Olivia asked, handing Emily a coffee. Emily took a sip, savoring the warmth. "Challenging. Exhausting." She looked up, a smile spreading across her face. "And absolutely amazing." Olivia beamed. "I knew you could do it." Emily sighed happily. "It is strange. For so long, I thought my life was over, that I had lost everything. But now, it feels like I have a second chance." "You do," Olivia said, "and you are making the most of it." Emily looked up at the sky, feeling the crisp evening air against her skin. She had once believed she was trapped in a cycle of pain, but now, she knew the truth. She had broken free. She had found her strength. And most importantly, she had found herself again. "Thank you, Olivia," Emily said softly. "For everything." Olivia smiled. "That is what friends are for." As they stood there, the city lights glowing around them, Emily realized that for the first time in years, she was not afraid of the future. She was ready for it. Months passed, and Emily's life transformed in ways she had never imagined. She had regained not only her career but also her confidence. The small, uncertain steps she had taken at the beginning had grown into steady strides. She was no longer just surviving. She was living. Daniel and Lily had adjusted well to their new life. Daniel, once a quiet and fearful boy, had begun to open up at school. He made friends, played soccer, and even started talking about becoming a doctor like his mother. Lily, full of curiosity and laughter, thrived in her new environment, bringing joy wherever she went. Emily's job at the hospital had also progressed beyond the probationary period. Dr. Whitmore had been impressed by her dedication and skill, offering her a permanent position. She still had moments of doubt. Memories of the past sometimes crept in, whispering that she was not good enough. But every time, she pushed forward. She reminded herself that she had fought too hard to let fear control her again. One evening, Olivia invited Emily to a charity gala. It was a formal event, filled with the city's wealthiest and most influential people. Emily hesitated at first. After everything she had been through, stepping into a world of luxury again felt strange. But Olivia insisted. "You belong here, Emily," she said. "Not because of money or status, but because you are someone worth knowing." Emily finally agreed. That night, she stood in front of the mirror, dressed in an elegant navy blue gown. She barely recognized herself. Gone was the woman who had once felt invisible, beaten down by life. In her place stood someone who had survived, fought, and risen stronger. At the gala, Olivia introduced Emily to people from the medical field, philanthropists, hospital board members, and executives. Emily spoke with them confidently, no longer feeling like an outsider. At one point, Olivia guided her toward a man standing near the bar. "Dr. Collins, this is Dr. Emily Carter," Olivia said with a smile. The man turned and extended his hand. He was in his mid-40s, with kind eyes and an air of quiet confidence. "Emily Carter," he said thoughtfully, "I have heard about you. You are the doctor who turned her life around." Emily hesitated. "I suppose you could say that." He smiled. "I would love to hear your story." As they talked, Emily realized something. Her past did not define her. It was part of her, but it was not the whole story. She was more than the pain she had endured. She was a mother, a doctor, a friend, a survivor. As the night went on, Emily found herself laughing, enjoying the company of new people, and even dancing. It was something she had not done in years. She caught Olivia watching her from across the room, smiling proudly. Later, as they left the event together, Olivia turned to Emily. "You see, you are not just rebuilding your life. You are thriving." Emily exhaled, looking up at the night sky. "I never thought I would feel this way again." "You deserve it," Olivia said. Emily thought about everything that had happened. The struggles, the pain, the uncertainty. And then she thought about where she was now, safe, successful, and free. She took a deep breath, feeling lighter than she had in years. For the first time, she truly believed it. She deserved happiness. And she was finally ready to embrace it.